Hello and welcome to Getting to Know You with Thomas Harvey-Beswick. This is your host, Kevin Bruton. Today we are on the topic of Thomas's youth and some of the things he's experienced while he was in care. This is a program note to let everyone know that this contains mature subject matter and your discretion is advised. Hi Thomas, how are you today?
I'm good, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you so much.
Good, good.
Okay, regarding your care, I know that there were some difficult times that you had experienced. Can you remember when they started?
I can't exactly remember when to the date because of my dyslexia and my dyspraxia, which was probably caused through the experience I've had throughout my lives. Okay. My life. Well, you could say lives, I suppose. Right. Yes, as a child. But it started very young, in foster care, being farmed out to families, being lost in the care system of which I was. Although I can't put a date on it, I still live with it every day. Yes, yeah. So and even now I'm 56 years of age. And I still can't sleep without the light on.
Wow. So it has greatly affected you today in your adult life. So you still get, do you get PTSD as far as your experiences are concerned as a youth going through such abuse?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's probably what you would look at today. I mean, back in the day when this was happening, I don't think we had this, broken down into the terminology. Right. But yeah, I mean, definitely, going through the experience, things that I weren't aware of, like my dyslexia and my dyspraxia and things like that at the time, made it all the more complicated to actually understand what was happening to me, and was this normal? Was this what happens to young children? You know what I'm saying? Is this the path if they don't have both parents in a loving household? Is this the norm?
Exactly. A lot of kids would find it to be normative, when they realize that they don't have anyone to speak to about it or anything of that nature to to provide their insights. Is this the way that parents treat their children normally? Wow. Did you receive any counseling as a result of this? Did you try to get any counseling?
Later in life I did, and I think that's when I discovered, because for many years I didn't know why I was so afraid to sleep in the dark. But after having counseling, which was actually for me quite horrendous, because I would, every single session, I would wake up, I would be on, in the counseling room on the couch, if you like, and being taken back, in time through the meditation that the counselor was doing with me to remember things. And always at the end of every session, I would wake up. Well, if you wake up or you come back, right. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
From the relaxation that he's doing with you to bring out these memories and things, I would always wake up crying, sobbing, and being clammy and wet, from being, going through it, like reliving something that I didn't even have all of the memories of. Do you know what I mean? Okay. But I knew that it affected me so much that I believe now that probably my mind blocked a lot of gaps out. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And because of the other experiences I was also having about being in the foster system, having been called by a different name, not having my own identity, I think that just added a lot more to the confusion. So I think my brain actually cut out segments of what happened.
Yeah, that is a protection mechanism, right?
Yeah, and the nearest that we were able to get in the counseling sessions with it was that adults coming into my room who were under the influence of alcohol and waking me, and then nobody likes to be even a child doesn't like to be woke up when it's asleep.
Exactly.
And being traumatized and being them touching me. And although I couldn't probably say what they did because I was too young anyway,
right.
I that has stuck with me all my life. And the interesting thing is, in different ways, although it has turned out that yes, I'm gay, and that is who I am. But there's very it's difficult because being touched in a certain way up until and it could be an innocent way, in my youth and younger, I wasn't able to deal with that, and I'd even been known to be at school. I would get, if somebody ruffled my hair, it would start an aggression. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It would be like a trigger, if you will, right?
A lot of things that were happening and that would cause other problems because I'd be getting into trouble at school.
Yeah, they consider you to be antisocial because of that, and not knowing that was, abused sexually as a child, and that kind of colored your experience in a social environment.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And then as a young child in school, I was considered to be rather plump, large. And again, it's the things that go along with it. So people say things, and it you don't know why it hurts, but it hurts.
Exactly.
And then, people, I remember again getting in trouble at school when because my shape was, I was chubby, and I was in what you guys would call I can't remember the I should remember the name, husky jeans, if you know what I mean. Right. I remember the other kids would do things and whack me on the backside with the ruler and things,
Oh no.
And then I'd retaliate, and then I'd be in trouble again. You know what I'm saying? And the abuse, for some reason, continued on in all different parts of my time in the childcare system, whether it was in foster care or whether it was in children's homes. Some by other young children, older than me, but children within the care system, and others by people that were there to protect us and to care about us. So it was very traumatic, and not having the capacity because of my other challenges to explore it and explain or go to anybody. Even I never went to anybody till I'd suffered horrendous amounts of abuse, not only in the sexual areas, but physical abuse, beatings.
Oh no.
And by people that were put in place to actually care for us. And I'm not talking about a spanking if you're bad, if you're naughty or whatever. Right, I'm talking about well over the boundaries of anything like that you could imagine that would happen today in care. I was picked up at one time in my life, I think about 9 years old, and I was picked up by my legs, and I was shook around the room, and banged my head was banged on the wall. To one time it was so bad I had to be hospitalized and have a couple of stitches in the back of my head, and that That was by somebody that was responsible
for caring for you,
caring for us. Yeah. So there's an awful lot, and a lot of, because a lot of my early life experiences, I was brought up a lot by women as well. So many of my role models, which would have played into my young life, would have been around from women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Along with that, and my chubbiness, and I was blonde and blue-eyed, and and I'd got those feminine inputs as well, which back then was deemed as something not the norm. Then I think it was I'd almost got a target on my head. You know what I mean? You can abuse me. Social services basically then was a lot of women looking after kids. There were men, but there were a lot of women in the main, and a lot of my gestures or whatever, or anything that you learn,
right,
learn from them, because those were the role models. Yeah. So that caused problems within itself, of identity, and and then led to people that wanted to take advantage able to do so more. Yeah. So it was very scary, very strange, to try and work with that, and not that you want to work with anything when you're a kid. You expect it, you're going to be cared for and loved, and helped grow. So it would be fair to say that a lot of my growing experience didn't start until many years later. That was the early stages. There is a lot more of the abuse over the time that I'm sure we'll hit on in further discussions.
People that were supposed to care for you, actually took advantage of many of the things that when in trying to shape your upbringing, led to you being harmed, emotional and physical and sexual manner. And how do you remember getting out of that situation? Were you able to leave it somehow?
I think first of all, I started leaving it in my mind. When it was happening, I would probably try to think of something, or be somewhere, or that wasn't there.
So finding your happy place, if you will, in your mind.
Yeah,
right.
If that makes any sense. Yeah,
it does.
And it was very difficult. I remember crying a lot, and I remember hiding. I used to hide, not very well, but I tried. And I think that for the time that it's happening, something must have kicked in, because I was able to block it out. Not all of it. Right. And as I said, even to this day, I can't, because, I still can't sleep on my own without the light on, which is, I mean, I don't kind of worry about that anymore. It's a handling mechanism. When I'm with my husband, Mark, we sleep together. I don't need the light on then. You know what I'm saying? So that's all good. But
there's a comfort there.
There's a comfort there, and I feel safe and protected, and but when I'm in my apartment, and I still have sometimes all the lights on, depending on the level of, and some things, I can watch something or listen to somebody else's story, and I take it all in and everything, but then something from that story can come up in my mind, and then my mind, I'll be going to sleep, and then I'm wandering into something I don't even know.
Exactly.
All I know that it's stopping me from sleeping, and it's causing me to be anxious, and then maybe I'll wake up after having, a nightmare or something like that. So,
flashback. Exactly.
Yeah. And I often think, well, I'm 56 years of age. Why does this still happen to me? Why can I not turn that light out? And I have tried, but then again, it doesn't. I don't get a good night's sleep. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Exactly. So it still does affect you even in your adult life.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And you have persevered, and you're a successful business person. The actual founder of the Solace community and everything. And so, what words of help and support would you give anyone that is going through the same similar situation as the one that you have gone through?
We have at the Solace community, both in the USA and in the UK, we have a lot of we've got a lot of good people we work with. We have great people in the UK. The staff, are that people confiding them. I mean, people would come to me. I've been doing this service now for 30 years or more, and people would come to me and they didn't know my story. But they may be of an older age, because you take 30 years ago, I was only 18.
Exactly.
But I was young myself, and people of certain age would come up to me, all kinds of different ages, but in the main, some of them would be a lot older than me at that time. And they would confide in me, and in some cases I was the first person that ever told, and that was just amazing to me that without a word spoken, somebody can see and they can feel,
the compassion.
There's a connection, and they feel that they can share, Yeah, I mean that's always been very. Much in the work that I've done a lot. I've known a lot of people that come through the services that we provide that have had, I don't want to say similar experiences, because all of our experiences are different, and
exactly
how we filter that is different. But I've all had similar experiences along the side of being abused, being taken.
That's what I was meaning. Actually, that was the context of which I was speaking about it. Being abused in either psychological, physical, sexual, emotional. Those are the areas I was referring to.
One thing that just comes to mind there is when one person confided me in England, and this was about 15 years ago, and it made me go back. Although I never wanted to go back to the counsellor because of as I said, of the waking up crying and sweating and coming through that. But he said something to me that was very. I thought I don't know even for me that answer. So because he said, well, if somebody is in control of you and cares for you, and they're with you at bath time and bedtime, and and then they bathe you, and then you don't do what they say you got to do at the time, and then when you get out of the bath, then they put their hand around your mouth, stop you from getting away and breathing, and then are doing things like spanking you or other things.
Right.
What is that? And I thought, oh, gosh, but it head right to me.
Exactly.
It right into me, because it was like, oh my God, you've seen a part of me I haven't even looked at myself. And I went back, as much as I didn't want to go back.
Right.
And somebody said this to me, and of course then I'd started to go back to the not sleeping and constantly thinking about this one issue because it happened to me. And obviously the counsellor was able to say it's all abuse.
And you were saying that your counselor was mentioning things to you during your guided meditation. you recall any helpful things that your counselor said during that time after the person in England had shared their experience with you?
He helped me understand, because when this service user client at the time had mentioned this to me, then as I said, it went very much to me, because it reminded me of it brought something back live. It brought something back that had happened, and I was reliving it. And
Wow.
I'd never told anybody about it. And I was very young at the time it happened to me. And I just couldn't stop thinking about what the person had said and what it meant to me. I was 30, maybe 38 years of age, yeah? And obviously doing the work that I was doing, I didn't understand why is this affecting me now? Why can I not push it, or remove it to a part of my brain where I can, it's not keep coming back in, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
it's very much a part of who you are, who you were, back during that time. So that's why it actually triggered the flashbacks and actually put you right back in, your little self at that time.
Well, what happened was, I thought it was going to be just maybe a one-off with the counsellor to decompartment it off to somewhere else, yeah.
Right.
But it wasn't. But what happened was, I then was in a situation where I met the person directly that had done this to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was so, it was really difficult, because being the person that I'd wanted for myself, to be able to move beyond it, the emotion and the anger that I felt was consuming. It was like I wanted to do things that I'd never even thought of that was in me, and I was creating scenarios in my head of what I would do if I got him on his own, yeah. And it was, so I've got that side of me, and then I've got the side of me that is raised above a lot of that, yeah. But it was very, very difficult. Fortunately, I was able to get myself out of the situation. So, because I think if I'd have stayed there any much longer, I don't probably know how I would have responded.
Right. And
yeah. Right. But yeah, I got myself out of that situation.
Terrific.
And that was a good thing. That was a very good thing, because I've been a believer. You see, the only way for me, we all have choices, don't we?
Yes, we do.
With the life and the difficulty and the appalling treatment of social services in my earlier years. It wasn't all bad, but in the early years was appalling. I had choices, didn't I? I could have gone that way or that way.
Exactly.
My thing was that I'd taught myself is I've got to forgive these people, yeah, but I've got to forgive these people for me. I've got to be prepared to say, okay, what happened to me was appalling. It was wrong, but I can't. And I think that's what my brain tried to do when I was younger, because probably I'd have been a lot different. You know what I'm saying? That my brain tried to cut a lot of that out. Yeah. Although there's a lot of traces there still today.
Exactly.
But the way that I've, as I've said, to forgive them and to move on, and to put those energies into positive outcomes, for other people, with working and helping other people, to create positive outcomes for helping people that, I see, I suppose, that, are in not where I am now, but of where I've been, in the same,
exactly.
the same difficulties. My whole goal was to try and help as many people that had difficult experiences, bad experiences, not always got the services and the support that they've needed, to help that and make it better for them. That's why, the services that I've provided for over 30 years are about that. They're about trying to let people know that there are people, good people there, and we are focused, and we do want to care, we do want to help, them. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's been my goals, both in the UK for 30 years, and I've been out here now for 10 in the US. So that's the thing that we do.
Excellent. I said, do you find that the services that you provide influence the care system in the UK?
I would hope so. I'm not done a survey of it, but I would hope so, if it can help one person. And it's not just about helping for people, or that have suffered the same experiences as me. They can be experiences that I don't yet know, or don't know of. I haven't had those same experiences, but the goal is just been to provide an ear, to provide an honest space from us as a service, to genuinely trying to help people. So some of the help might not be, it might just be, I'm here, and I need support, I need a flat, I need and that's an apartment for the American.
Of course.
I need food and clothing, and that's fine. Other people come with deeper rooted issues, which may need a lot more support and a lot more help. We're there for that.
Terrific. Do you find that you'd like to write a memoir or something about your story, to be able to take and share your story and provide help and support through your own story, from going through the care system to the success that you've achieved now as an adult?
Yes, I've actually I was approached to do a book over here in the US. It's a little bit difficult because of my dyslexia and dyspraxia, so dates and all of that kind of thing. But yes, it is something that with my very busy schedule, that I would still look to be interested in doing, as a story of my experiences, where I've been, what has come from them, and letting people know that if you'd have looked at my life, all of the experiences and all the disabilities, the learning disabilities that I've challenged, and I've been able to do what I've done, that there's hope and great things out there for all of us. Because the only thing that I'd like to put out there into the big space, the world, is the positive turn. That things can be turned around. There's a process for that, and sometimes it's a very hard process. But there can be positive outcomes. There can be goals that we can all achieve for ourselves, but including others into that as well.
Oh, excellent. Well, thanks again for your time and for your insights, and hopefully we can see that book and be able to read more and achieve success in our own lives as well. So Thanks again, Thomas, for your time, and we look forward to our next discussion.